Before inheriting Anderson's antiques, I was a history enthusiast with a knack for solving mysteries. My uncle's shop had always fascinated me, filled with relics and artifacts from bygone eras. When I was a kid, I would spend countless hours there, drawn to the stories each item held, before my uncle became a seclusive old guy and distanced himself from our family. Photography was my hobby, capturing the beauty and mystery of the antiques. When my uncle passed away, leaving the shop to me, I felt a mix of excitement and trepidation. I wanted to honor his legacy and turn the shop into a renowned establishment, but I was unsure if I could handle the supernatural elements that came with it. My fear of the supernatural world was a constant battle, often casting doubt on my courage and decision-making. The chilling encounters we faced left me questioning my ability to protect the shop and its secrets. Isabella's presence was a comforting anchor, but the fear of failing my uncle's legacy pushed me to take risks and make difficult choices, even when my instincts screamed otherwise. In the heart of Edinburgh, the shop appeared deceptively ordinary. Yet, behind its creaky doors and musty shelves lay secrets that could send shivers down the spine of the bravest soul. It was on a day like any other, while cataloging a new inventory, that I stumbled upon a peculiar music box. Its intricate carvings depicted a dance eternal, angels and demons locked in a perpetual struggle, their expressions a frozen mix of joy and torment. Intrigued, I set it on the counter, unaware of the haunting events it would soon unleash. A soft, haunting melody filled the air as I closed up one evening. I froze, my heart pounding, my mind racing with fear and confusion. The shop was empty, and I had no music boxes. The mournful song echoed from the shadows. I followed the sound to the back of the shop, where the music box played alone on a shelf. "Hello?" I called out, feeling foolish. There was no one there, of course, but the air felt thick, almost oppressive. I picked up the music box, and the tune abruptly stopped. My hands were trembling as I examined it. Nothing seemed amiss, yet I couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. In the days that followed, the intensity of these incidents grew, as if the air had become imbued with an otherworldly presence. At peculiar hours, a haunting melody would emanate from the music box, its ethereal notes filling the space and sending shivers down the spines of those who heard it. Customers would catch fleeting glimpses of shadowy figures lurking in the dimly lit corners, their presence unsettling and enigmatic. The atmosphere would suddenly turn icy, sending a chill down the visitors' spines and adding to the eerie ambiance. News of these inexplicable happenings quickly spread like wildfire, drawing in curious visitors who were enticed by the enchantment of the antique items and the spine-tingling allure of the spectral music box. My discovery intrigued Isabella, the vampire who lived in the basement of the shop. Her pale skin and dark eyes belied a tragic history. Centuries ago, Isabella was one of the founders of the Council. Its primary purpose was to maintain equilibrium within the tumultuous vampire world and shield their realm from human discovery. However, as years passed, the committee comprised influential vampire leaders who held dominion over the vampire community. The scope and rules changed and no longer appealed to Isabella's vision when first established. She had encountered the council of supernatural beings, and she had seen many friends perish. However, given that she was one of the founders, she was spared under the condition to remain hidden and not draw attention to the supernatural. Isabella was driven by a deep-seated desire to regain her humanity, which is why she stayed in my uncle's store. She was hoping to discover a way to be human again. Isabella had helped me with several mysterious items, and I trusted her insights. The delicate balancing act between her desires and the council's mandates further complicated Isabella's struggle to suppress her vampire instincts. The constant dread of exposure and the potentially dire repercussions of her actions added a layer of complexity to her already arduous journey. Isabella's past was a constant struggle as she fought against her vampire nature. Even though she was not born into a family of vampires, but turned against her will, she felt the need to belong somewhere. But she could not bear the thought that she possessed an insatiable thirst for blood. However, unlike her society members who embraced their dark side, Isabella yearned for a normal life. Every day, she grappled with controlling her primal urges, desperately trying to resist the temptation of feeding on innocent humans. The struggle was not only physical, but also mental, as the fear of succumbing to the darkness within her haunted her every waking moment. Isabella's resolve was tested time and again, as she faced situations that pushed her to the edge of her self-control. She constantly sought ways to suppress her vampire instincts, experimenting with alternative means of sustenance and engaging in intense training to strengthen her willpower. Her journey was one of self-discovery and a constant battle against the very essence of her being. Isabella's resourcefulness and quick thinking in dangerous situations were invaluable. Her knowledge of the supernatural world and expertise in dealing with various entities often saved us from peril. Despite her struggles with her vampire nature, she remained strong and determined to protect those she cared about. We pored over the intricate carvings on the music box, each detail more mesmerizing than the last. The angels and demons seemed locked in an eternal dance, their expressions frozen in joy and torment. The craftsmanship was exquisite, but something about the box felt off, as if it were imbued with heavy sorrow. "James, this is fascinating," Isabella remarked, tracing the delicate lines with her fingertips. "There's a depth of emotion in these carvings that suggests more than just a decorative piece. It's like it's telling a story." Though she could feel the dark energy emanating from the artifact, she hadn't heard of this one before. "I agree," I replied, feeling a chill run down my spine. The expressions on their faces, it's almost as if they're reliving something tragic. Our curiosity piqued, and we investigated further. I dug into the shop's records and found that the music box had been part of an estate sale from an old manor in the French countryside. The previous owner, a young bride named Elise, had died tragically on the eve of her wedding. Her fiancé, Lucien, a composer, had crafted the music box in her memory, pouring all his grief and longing into its creation. "This must be the key," I said, showing Isabella the records. "Lucien made the music box in memory of Elise. Their story must be linked to the haunting melody." Isabella nodded thoughtfully. "We need to understand more about their connection and how it has bound their spirits to this music box." "Let's set up some cameras and audio recorders around the shop," she suggested. "If their spirits are truly bound to the box, we might capture something that could give us a clue." We carefully positioned the equipment, hoping to catch any paranormal activity. As the haunting melody played again that night, we watched in awe as ghostly apparitions appeared on the footage, figures that seemed to dance to the sad tune. The whispers of "Lucien," "Elise," echoed through the audio, sending chills down our spines. The evidence was clear. The music box was a vessel for their tragic love story, a constant reminder of their unfulfilled destiny. We had to help them free their spirits from perpetual sorrow. Amidst freezing night, wind howling, and shop bathed in moonlight, a voice echoed, clearer than ever. "Help us." I jumped, knocking over a stack of books. The voice was coming from the music box. I felt a surge of determination. If the spirits sought help, there could be a way to free them. Isabella and I consulted with Madame Lavinia, a renowned medium known for her expertise in communicating with the dead. Madame Lavinia was not just any medium. She was a legend in the supernatural world. Her reputation was built on years of experience dealing with restless spirits and dark entities. Isabella had met her years ago during an investigation into a haunted manor where Lavinia's unique skills had been crucial in uncovering the truth behind the haunting. They had stayed in touch, sharing information and collaborating on particularly challenging cases. "James, we need Madame Lavinia's help," Isabella said, her voice filled with urgency. "She's the best there is when dealing with spirits. If anyone can help us understand what's happening with the music box, it's her." "Do you think she'll come?" I asked, knowing how reclusive and selective Lavinia could be about her cases. "She'll come," Isabella replied with confidence. "I've already sent her a message explaining the situation. She owes me a favor from our last encounter, and I think she'll be intrigued by this case." True to Isabella's word, Madame Lavinia arrived the following evening. She was a tall, imposing figure with piercing blue eyes that seemed to look straight into your soul. Her presence was commanding, yet there was a warmth to her that put us at ease. "Isabella, it's good to see you," Lavinia said, embracing her old friend. And you must be James. I've heard a lot about you. It's an honor to meet you, Madame Lavinia, I said, shaking her hand. Thank you for coming on such short notice. It's not every day I get a call about a haunted music box, she replied with a wry smile. Let's see what we can uncover. She examined the music box, her fingers tracing the intricate carvings with a practiced eye. This box is more than just a relic, she said, her voice soft and melodic. The spirits of Elise and Lucien are trapped within, their love unfulfilled. The carvings depict their story, their eternal dance of joy and torment. Is there a way to free them? Isabella asked, her eyes wide with concern. Madame Lavinia nodded. We must perform a ritual under the full moon, combining elements of their love story with a release incantation. It's a delicate process, but it can be done. With Lavinia's guidance, we prepared for the ritual, gathering items that had once belonged to Elise and Lucien, her wedding dress, his sheet music, a lock of her hair, and a strand of his. As the full moon rose, casting an eerie glow over the shop, Lavinia led us through the magic, her voice rising and falling like the haunting melody of the music box. The air grew colder, and the apparitions appeared again, more vivid this time. They danced around us, their movements synchronized with Lavinia's chant. Suddenly, the music box played louder and more insistently. The figures of Elise and Lucien materialized fully, their faces filled with sorrow and hope. Madame Lavinia gestured for us to join her, and we recited the incantation's last words. There was a blinding flash of light and then silence. Elise's and Lucien's figures faded, their expressions peaceful. The music box stopped playing, its lid closing gently. The oppressive air lifted, replaced by a sense of calm and relief. They are free now, Lavinia said with a gentle smile. Their spirits have moved on. Isabella and I looked around the shop, feeling a sense of accomplishment and sadness. The music box was no longer haunted, but a testament to a love that transcended death. We placed it on a particular display, with a plaque telling the story of Elise and Lucien. The shop returned to its usual quiet, but the legend of the phantom music box lived on. Visitors came to see it, drawn by the tale of love and loss. Anderson's Antiques, a place of mystery, now held hope, where even curses could be lifted. That night, as I reviewed the footage one last time before archiving it, I noticed something odd. Elise's and Lucien's apparitions pointed at something in the shop's background. I paused the video and zoomed in. There, barely visible in the shadows, was another figure. Isabella, you need to see this, I called, my voice trembling. She hurried over, her eyes widening as she saw the shadowy figure. Who is that? I don't know, I replied. Yet, we must discover. The next day, we scoured the shop for clues that might explain the mysterious figure. Behind a stack of old books, we found a hidden compartment. Inside was a diary, its pages yellowed with age. The diary belonged to Lucien. As we read through the entries, we discovered a shocking revelation. Lucien had been a composer and a practitioner of dark arts. In his grief, he had attempted to summon Elise's spirit, but something had gone wrong. Elise had a twin sister, Eveline, who was intensely jealous of her. Eveline, proficient in dark arts, had cursed Elise and Lucien, leading to Elise's tragic death. Unbeknownst to Eveline, Lucien's ritual bound his and Elise's spirits together in an unbreakable bond. Elise was not the only spirit he summoned, Isabella whispered, her face pale. There's something else here, something darker. As night fell, we prepared for another ritual to banish the darker spirit that Lucien had inadvertently summoned. Madame Lavinia agreed to help once again, her expression serious. This will be more dangerous, she warned. The spirit we face is evil and won't leave quickly. We gathered in the shop, the air thick with tension. Madame Lavinia chanted, her voice firm. The temperature dropped, and the shadowy figure appeared, its form twisting and writhing in the darkness. Begone, the spirit of darkness, Madame Lavinia commanded. You are not welcome here. The figure shrieked, its voice a cacophony of anger and despair. It lunged towards us, but a barrier of light formed around Madame Lavinia, protecting us from its evil energy. James, Isabella, join hands with me, she instructed. We must combine our strength to banish this spirit. We clasped hands, our energies merging with Madame Lavinia's. Together, we chanted the incantation, our voices rising in unison. The light grew brighter, pushing the shadowy figure back. With one final anguished scream, the spirit was banished, disappearing into the void. The shop fell silent, the oppressive darkness lifting. "We did it," Isabella said, her voice shaky but triumphant. Madame Lavinia nodded. "The shop is safe now. Elise and Lucian's spirits and the darker entity have moved on." While cleaning up and closing, I felt a sense of relief and pride. Isabella and I had uncovered a tragic love story and banished an evil spirit that threatened the peace of the shop. However, the following day, a new and alarming development occurred. I found an envelope slipped under the shop door. Inside was a letter written in an elegant, flowing script. "James, the council knows about Lucian and Elise. Such bonds are forbidden, and they will stop at nothing to destroy them. Protect them, for they are now fugitives, cursed to roam the earth, forever hunted, a friend." My heart raced as I showed the letter to Isabella. Lucian and Elise remain, albeit transformed. We began researching, diving deeper into the lore and the forbidden bonds. According to my uncle's diary, such bonds could cause transformations, and indeed, Elise and Lucian were cursed with alternative forms. Lucian had become a werewolf with the unique and deadly power to kill vampires with his saliva, and Elise, tragically, had become a vampire. "James, it's much more complicated," Isabella said, her concerned eyes wide. "Lucian and Elise are bound by love, yet cursed to be eternal enemies." "We have to find them before the council does," I replied. "We owe it to them to help." As the full moon rose, the music box played again that night. The haunting melody echoed through the shop, and the apparitions of Lucian and Elise appeared again, this time in their transformed states. Lucian, a powerful werewolf, and Elise, a beautiful yet tormented vampire, stood before us. "Thank you for freeing us," Lucian said, his voice a deep growl. "But we are not safe. The council will come for us." "We will help you," I promised, "but you must go now and hide where they cannot find you." Elise's eyes met mine, her expression of sorrow and gratitude. "We will never forget your kindness, but beware, the council is relentless." As they prepared to leave, Lucian turned to me. "Our bond is unbreakable, but also dangerous. My saliva is deadly to vampires. Even though we are together, I can never kiss her. I can only touch her hand and face. It is a cruel irony, but we endure it for our love." With a final, sorrowful glance, Lucian and Elise disappeared into the night, fugitives bound by love and cursed by fate. As Isabella and I watched them go, I felt a deep sadness and a new determination to protect them. "James," Isabella said softly, touching my arm. "We did what we could. Now it's up to them to survive." I looked at her, feeling a spark of something more than friendship. "Thank you, Isabella, for everything." She smiled, a hint of something more profound in her eyes. "We make a good team, don't we?" Closing the shop and entering the night, I knew Anderson's Antiques held mystery and magic. Over the next few days, the atmosphere in Anderson's Antiques was tense. We banished the dark spirit, but the thought of Lucian and Elise on the run weighed heavily. Each day, I feared their discovery by the council, and each night, the persistent feeling of being watched haunted me. Isabella and I spent countless hours poring over my uncle's diary and other ancient texts, searching for any information that could help us protect Lucian and Elise. The council, a shadowy organization dedicated to maintaining the balance between supernatural beings, was relentless and powerful. Their laws were strict, and bonds like the one between Lucian and Elise were considered an abomination. One evening, as we were deep in our research, a sudden knock on the door startled us. I exchanged a worried glance with Isabella before opening the door. To my surprise, it was Madame Lavinia, her expression grim. "Madame Lavinia, what brings you here?" I asked, trying to mask my concern. "I have felt a disturbance," she said, stepping inside. "The council is closer than you think. They are searching for Lucian and Elise and will stop at nothing to destroy them." Isabella's face paled. "Anything we can do to protect them?" Madame Lavinia nodded. "There's a way, but it entails significant risk and sacrifice. We must create a powerful protective charm to shield them from the council's detection." "Whatever it takes," I said firmly. "Tell us what we need to do." Madame Lavinia explained the complex ritual needed to create the charm. We had to gather rare ingredients, including a feather from a phoenix, a scale from a dragon, and a tear from a banshee. Each item was challenging to obtain, with time being essential. The journey to gather the ingredients for the ritual to protect Lucian and Elise was fraught with danger and suspense. Each step of the way, Isabella and I faced challenges that tested our resolve and courage. The journey to gather the ingredients for the ritual to protect Lucien and Elise was fraught with danger and suspense. Each step of the way, Isabella and I faced challenges that tested our resolve and courage. Our first destination was the hidden valley in the Scottish Highlands, home to the elusive phoenix. As we approached, the air shimmered with an ethereal glow, but our presence did not go unnoticed. The valley was guarded by ancient protective wards designed to keep intruders at bay. We carefully navigated the traps, their triggers barely visible among the underbrush. "Watch your step," Isabella whispered, pointing to a barely perceptible thread of light stretching across our path. "These wards are tricky. One wrong move, and we could trigger an avalanche or worse." I nodded, swallowing hard as I inched forward, heart pounding in my chest. Every rustle of leaves and every crunch underfoot felt magnified in the tense silence. At one point, a low growl resonated through the valley, causing us to freeze. A pair of glowing eyes peered at us from the shadows, a guardian spirit of the valley. We held our breath, praying it wouldn't attack. After a tense moment, the creature seemed to lose interest and disappeared into the underbrush. As we reached the heart of the valley, the majestic phoenix perched high on a rock, its feathers ablaze with vibrant colors. It studied us with knowing eyes, understanding our desperate plight. With a slow, graceful movement, it shed a single feather, which floated gently down to us. "Thank you," Isabella whispered, her eyes reflecting the phoenix's fiery glow. The phoenix let out a soft, melodic call before taking flight, disappearing into the sky. Next, we traveled to the ancient forests of Romania, where dragons were said to dwell. This task was far more perilous. The dense forest was filled with twisted trees and shadows that seemed to move on their own. "This place gives me the creeps," Isabella muttered, her eyes darting around nervously. "We need to stay sharp." The forest was alive with danger. At one point, we encountered a patch of quicksand, nearly losing our footing before managing to pull ourselves to safety. The oppressive atmosphere weighed heavily on us, and strange noises echoed through the trees, making it difficult to determine whether we were being watched or if it was just our imaginations playing tricks on us. After days of searching and avoiding countless dangers, we finally encountered a slumbering dragon deep within a cave. The air was thick with the scent of sulfur, and the ground trembled slightly with each of the dragon's breaths. "Stay back," I whispered, motioning Isabella to keep a safe distance. With great care and my heart pounding, I approached the beast, my hands steady despite the terror coursing through my veins. As I reached for a scale, the dragon stirred, its massive eyelid fluttering. I held my breath, praying it wouldn't wake. The dragon let out a low, rumbling growl, causing me to freeze in place. After what felt like an eternity, I managed to retrieve a scale without rousing the beast. We backed away slowly, the tension leaving us both shaking once we were safely outside. Our final quest took us to the haunted moors of Ireland in search of a banshee. The moors were shrouded in mist, and the banshee's wails echoed eerily through the night. The ground was treacherous, and the constant feeling of being watched added to our unease. "Do you hear that?" Isabella asked, her voice trembling. "It's like the wind is crying." "That's the banshee," I said, my own voice barely a whisper. "We need to find her lair and get what we came for." Following the haunting cries, we found the banshee's lair, a dark, foreboding cave. The journey to the lair was perilous. The ground was riddled with hidden sinkholes, and spectral apparitions appeared, trying to lead us astray. At one point, we encountered a ghostly figure that blocked our path, its hollow eyes staring into our souls. Isabella held up a protective charm, and the figure dissolved into mist, allowing us to pass. Confronting the banshee was a harrowing experience. Her ethereal form was twisted in agony, her eyes reflecting centuries of sorrow. Her wails were deafening, causing physical pain and making it hard to concentrate. "Please," I began, my voice trembling. "We need your help. We need a tear to save our friends." The banshee's wails grew louder, echoing through the cave and sending chills down our spines. Isabella stepped forward, her face filled with compassion. "We understand your pain," she said softly. "We are desperate and have no other choice. Please, help us." Moved by our genuine desperation, the banshee's wails softened. She agreed to help, shedding a single tear that glistened with supernatural light. We collected it in a crystal vial, the banshee's wail echoing long after we had left her lair. With the phoenix feather, the dragon's scale, and the banshee's tear, we returned to Edinburgh, our hearts filled with hope and determination. We had faced unimaginable dangers and survived, ready to complete the ritual and protect Lucian and Elise from the council's wrath. The air was thick with tension as Lavinia began to chant, her voice rising and falling like a tide. Isabella and I joined hands, our energy merging with Lavinia's to create a powerful protective charm. As the ritual reached its climax, the items glowed with an otherworldly light, swirling together in a dance of magic. The air crackled with energy, and a brilliant light filled the room. The charm was complete, a small amulet glowing with the combined power of the rare ingredients. Lavinia handed it to me, her expression serious. "This charm will protect Lucian and Elise," she said. "But they must always wear it. It will mask their presence from the council and bind their fates even closer. If one is harmed, the other will feel it." "Thank you, Madame Lavinia," I said, feeling the weight of the charm in my hand. "We will get this to them." Isabella and I knew finding Lucian and Elise would be difficult, but we had to try. We sent discreet messages through trusted contacts in the supernatural community, hoping they would reach the fugitives. Days turned into weeks, and just when hope began to wane, a messenger arrived. It was a raven carrying a small note tied to its leg. The note was from Lucian, detailing a safe meeting place in the remote forests of Scotland. We set out immediately, the protective charm safely tucked away. The journey was long and dangerous, but we finally reached the secluded cabin where Lucian and Elise hid. The reunion was bittersweet. Lucian looked weary, and Elise's eyes were filled with sadness, which spoke of their constant fear and isolation. "We've brought something that can help," I said, handing them the charm. "This will protect you from the council." Lucian took the charm, his eyes filled with gratitude. "Thank you, James. This means more than you can imagine." Elise stepped forward, her gaze softening. "We owe you our lives. But remember, this charm also binds us. We will feel each other's pain, but it's a risk we're willing to take." As they donned the charm, a sense of relief washed over them. For the first time in weeks, they could rest without fear. We stayed with them for a while, ensuring their safety and helping them plan their next steps. The evening, as we sat around a small fire, Elise shared more about their bond. "Lucian's saliva is deadly to me, but we have learned to live with it. We cherish the moments we can hold and touch each other's faces. It's a cruel fate, but our love keeps us strong." Lucian nodded, his eyes reflecting the firelight. "We will keep running, but as long as we're together, we can endure anything." As we prepared to leave, Lucian and Elise thanked us again. "We will never forget your kindness," Elise said, her voice filled with emotion. "You have given us hope." Our journey back to Edinburgh was filled with a quiet sense of accomplishment. We had faced incredible challenges and emerged victorious. The bond between Lucian and Elise, though forbidden and dangerous, was a testament to the power of love. After returning from Scotland, Isabella and I settled back into the rhythm of life at Anderson's Antiques. Despite the lingering tension from our recent adventures, the shop resumed its quiet charm, with customers browsing the eclectic collection of artifacts and curiosities. A tall man in a long dark coat stepped inside one rainy afternoon as the shop bell tinkled to announce a new visitor. His presence immediately drew attention, not because of his attire, but because of the mystery surrounding him. He removed his hat, revealing sharp, intelligent eyes that seemed to take in every detail of the shop. "Good afternoon," he greeted with a slight nod. "I am Professor Alastair Thornton. I've heard intriguing tales about Anderson's Antiques, and I've come to see if the stories hold any truth." "Welcome, Professor Thornton," I replied, extending a hand. "I'm James, the current proprietor. This is my colleague, Isabella." Isabella smiled politely. "How can we assist you, Professor?" "I'm particularly interested in artifacts with unusual histories or supernatural qualities," he said, his gaze sweeping over the shelves. "Do you have anything that might pique my curiosity?" I glanced at Isabella, who nodded subtly. "We have a few items that might interest you," I said, leading him to a display case containing some of our more mysterious artifacts. Professor Thornton's keen interest in the supernatural became apparent as we discussed the various items. He seemed particularly drawn to a tarnished silver locket, intricately engraved with symbols that defied straightforward interpretation. "This locket," he murmured, almost to himself, "has a dark aura. What can you tell me about it?" Isabella stepped forward, her voice steady. "This locket is said to be cursed. Its previous owners all met untimely deaths. According to legend, it belonged to a noblewoman named Lady Eleanor, who cursed the locket with her dying breath." Professor Thornton's eyes gleamed with fascination. "May I examine it more closely?" With a nod from Isabella, I unlocked the display case and handed the locket to him. "This is indeed a powerful artifact," he said, returning it to me. "I'd like to study it further if you allow it." Isabella and I exchanged another look. Allowing someone else to study such a dangerous item was not a decision to be taken lightly. "We appreciate your interest, Professor Thornton," I said carefully. "These artifacts have a purpose beyond study. They carry much history and power and must be handled carefully." The professor nodded, though I could see a flicker of disappointment in his eyes. "Of course, Mr. Anderson. I understand your caution. Perhaps another time." As Professor Thornton left the shop, the uneasy feeling lingered. Something about his intense interest in the locket, combined with the growing sense of danger, set me on edge. As Isabella and I closed that evening, we discussed our latest visitor. "Do you think he means any harm?" she asked, her brow furrowed. "I don't know," I admitted. "But we need to be vigilant. The locket has drawn attention before, and it never ends well." While reviewing the day's recordings one night, I noticed something disturbing. A woman's twisted face of anguish is visible in the background of multiple frames. I immediately recognized her from the historical records, Lady Eleanor. "Isabella, come look at this," I called, my voice tight with urgency. She hurried over, her eyes widening as she saw the spectral figure on the screen. "It's Lady Eleanor," she whispered. "She's haunting the shop." Lady Eleanor was once a noblewoman of great beauty and grace, living in an opulent manor that stood as a symbol of her family's prestige. Her life was one of privilege and luxury, but beneath the surface lay a dark and tragic story. Lady Eleanor was known for her kind heart and her love for the arts, particularly music. She often hosted grand balls and gatherings where her musical talents enchanted all who attended. However, Lady Eleanor's life took a dark turn when she fell in love with a young composer named Alaric. Their love was intense and passionate, but it was also forbidden, as Alaric was of common birth. Despite the societal barriers, they continued their affair in secret, planning to elope and start a new life together. Unbeknownst to them, Lady Eleanor's closest confidant, a woman named Marjorie, harbored deep jealousy and resentment. Marjorie had always desired the life Eleanor led, and was particularly envious of her relationship with Alaric. Marjorie, skilled in dark arts and occult practices, decided to take matters into her own hands. She devised a plan to curse Lady Eleanor, ensuring she would never find happiness with Alaric. On the night Eleanor and Alaric planned to flee, Marjorie confronted them. She cast a powerful curse, trapping Lady Eleanor's soul within a silver locket and binding her spirit to a state of eternal torment. The curse caused Eleanor to relive the pain and sorrow of her lost love endlessly. Alaric, devastated by Eleanor's fate, vanished without a trace, leaving the locket behind as a grim reminder of their tragic love. As years passed, the locket changed hands many times, each owner meeting a mysterious and untimely end. The curse's dark energy grew stronger, and Lady Eleanor's spirit became increasingly restless, her anguish manifesting as a haunting presence around the locket. We decided to consult Madame Lavinia once more. She arrived the following day, her expression grave as she examined the recordings. "Lady Eleanor's spirit is indeed restless," she confirmed. "She is bound to the locket by the curse placed upon it. We must find a way to release her spirit and lift the curse." To break the curse, we needed to confront Marjorie's dark magic. According to Lavinia, we had to find the original spellbook Marjorie used to cast the curse. This book, hidden away in the remnants of Marjorie's old lair, held the key to freeing Eleanor's spirit. With Lavinia's guidance, Isabella and I embarked on a journey to find Marjorie's lair. The lair was a decrepit cottage deep in the heart of an ancient forest, overgrown with ivy and shrouded in shadows. Inside, we discovered Marjorie's spellbook, its pages filled with dark incantations and curses. As we prepared for the ritual to break the curse, the shop's atmosphere grew tense. Lavinia chanted ancient words, and the locket began to glow with a malevolent light. The air thickened, and Lady Eleanor's anguished spirit materialized before us, her eyes pleading for release. "By the power of this spell, we break the curse that binds you," Lavinia intoned, her voice steady and commanding. The locket shattered, and Lady Eleanor's spirit sighed in relief as it dissolved into the air. The oppressive feeling lifted, and a sense of peace filled the shop. The curse was broken. Isabella and I placed the remnants of the locket in a special display, along with a plaque telling Lady Eleanor's tragic story and ultimate redemption. The shop returned to its usual quiet, but the legend of the cursed locket lived on, drawing visitors intrigued by the tale of love, jealousy, and dark magic. In the end, we not only freed Lady Eleanor's spirit, but also deepened our understanding of the supernatural forces at play within Anderson's antiques. The experience brought Isabella and me closer together, strengthening our bond as we continued to protect the shop and its secrets. Cleaning up and preparing to close, I felt a sense of accomplishment and gratitude. However, the sense of peace was short-lived. While locking up, I spotted a parchment beneath the door. It was a message written in the same elegant script as the previous letter. "James, the council knows what you have done and will come for you. Protect Anderson's antiques and its secrets. A friend." A chill ran down my spine as I read the note. The council was closer than ever, and their intentions were clear. We had to be prepared for whatever came next. "Isabella," I said, handing her the note, "we need to be ready. The council is coming." She read the note, her expression hardening with determination. "We'll protect the shop and everything in it, James. Together." The days following the ritual to release Lady Eleanor's spirit were filled with an uneasy calm. The shop felt different and lighter, but the lingering threat from the council cast a long shadow over Anderson's antiques. Isabella and I were constantly on edge, waiting for the next shoe to drop. One evening, as I was organizing some newly acquired artifacts, Isabella burst into the shop, her face pale with worry. "James, we have a problem." I looked up, my heart skipping a beat. "What is it?" She handed me a newspaper, the headline blaring, "Mysterious Attacks in Edinburgh, Authorities Baffled." The article detailed a series of violent incidents occurring under the full moon. The victims all bore marks that suggested a supernatural cause, deep claw marks, and strange, venomous bites. "Do you think it's Lucian?" Isabella asked, her voice barely above a whisper. I shook my head, trying to process the information. It could be. If he's struggling to control his transformations, he might be inadvertently causing harm. "We have to find him, James. We can't let this continue," she said, her eyes filled with determination. We embarked into the city that night, guided by the locations mentioned in the article. The full moon hung high, casting an eerie glow over the cobblestone streets. We moved cautiously, aware that we were venturing into dangerous territory. As we neared the latest attack site, a dark alleyway, we heard the sound of a struggle. A low growl reverberated through the air, followed by a terrified scream. We ran towards the noise, our hearts pounding. In the dim light, we saw Lucian, partially transformed into his werewolf form, battling a group of cloaked figures. His eyes were wild, filled with both rage and desperation. The cloaked figures, council members, were trying to subdue him, their silver weapons glinting in the moonlight. "Lucian!" I shouted, trying to get his attention. "Stop! We're here to help!" He turned towards us, his eyes briefly recognizing us before the rage took over again. He lunged at the nearest council member, claws slashing through the air. Isabella and I knew we had to act quickly to prevent more bloodshed. Isabella grabbed a nearby piece of metal, deflecting one of the council member's silver blades aimed at Lucian. I pulled out a vial of wolfsbane extract, something we kept in the shop for emergencies, and carefully approached Lucian. "Lucian, please calm down," I said, my voice steady but urgent. "We can help you, but you have to trust us." His eyes met mine momentarily, and I saw a flicker of recognition. Taking a deep breath, I threw the wolfsbane extract at his feet, the plant's potent smell causing him to recoil. It gave us just enough time to subdue him without further violence. As Lucian collapsed, reverting to his human form, the council members focused on us. Their leader, A stern woman with piercing blue eyes and a commanding presence stepped forward. Isabella recognized her immediately. Eleanor Graves, a prominent and respected figure within the Supernatural Community Council, and someone she had known for years. Isabella had been a former founder of the council, making their connection even more significant. "Who are you, and why are you interfering?" Eleanor Graves demanded, her voice cold and authoritative. "I'm James Anderson, the owner of Anderson's Antiques. Lucian is my friend, and I'm trying to help him," I explained, standing my ground. Eleanor's eyes narrowed. "Lucian is a danger to everyone around him. The council must ensure the safety of all, even if it means eliminating threats like him." "He's not a threat," Isabella argued. "He's struggling because of the curse. If we can help him control it, he won't be a danger to anyone." Eleanor seemed to consider this, her expression softening slightly. "Very well, we will give you a chance to prove it. But know this, if he harms anyone else, we will not hesitate to act." The council members then withdrew, leaving us alone with Lucian. We helped him back to the shop, where he slowly regained consciousness. "Thank you," he murmured, his voice weak. "I couldn't control it, the rage, it takes over." "We're here to help you, Lucian," I said gently. "We must figure out how to handle your transformations." As we tended to Lucian, a plan began to form in my mind. There was an ancient artifact I had read about, a relic known as the lunar talisman, rumored to have the power to stabilize werewolf transformations. Finding it might be the key to helping Lucian if we could see it. "Isabella, we need to find the lunar talisman," I said, explaining my idea. "It's our best hope for helping Lucian." Isabella nodded. "I'll start researching its location. We'll need to move quickly before the council changes their minds." The next few days were a blur of research and preparation. Isabella and I worked tirelessly, poring over ancient texts and contacting various sources in the supernatural community. We learned that the talisman was last seen in a remote monastery in the Carpathian Mountains, guarded by an ancient order of monks. Determined to retrieve the talisman, we embarked on our journey, leaving Lucian with trusted friends who could help manage his transformations. The trip to the Carpathian Mountains was long and arduous, filled with treacherous terrain and unpredictable weather. When we finally reached the monastery, we were greeted by an elderly monk who seemed to have been expecting us. "Welcome, travelers. I am Brother Gabriel. I know why you have come." "Brother Gabriel, we seek the lunar talisman," I said. "We need it to help a friend struggling with his werewolf curse." The monk nodded, his eyes filled with wisdom and understanding. "The talisman is a powerful artifact and must be used carefully. Follow me." He led us through the monastery to a hidden chamber where the talisman rested on a stone pedestal. The lunar talisman was a beautiful piece, a silver amulet adorned with intricate carvings of wolves and moons. "You must understand," Brother Gabriel said, "the talisman can help stabilize transformations, but cannot completely cure the curse. It will require strength and discipline from the one who uses it." "We understand," Isabella replied, "but we believe this is our best chance to help our friend." Brother Gabriel handed me the talisman, his expression solemn. "Use it wisely, and may it bring the peace you seek." With the talisman in hand, we returned to Edinburgh, our hearts filled with hope. Upon returning, we immediately sought Lucian and explained the talisman's power. "This could help you, Lucian," I said, placing the talisman around his neck. "But it will require your willpower and strength to harness its abilities fully." Lucian nodded, determination shining in his eyes. "I'll do whatever it takes to control this curse." The next full moon was a crucial test. With the talisman around his neck, Lucian faced the transformation with a newfound resolve. As the moon rose, the talisman glowed softly, and Lucian's transformation began. This time, however, the rage was tempered, and he remained in control. "It's working," Isabella whispered, relief in her voice. Still in his werewolf form, but with his human consciousness intact, Lucian looked at us with gratitude. "Thank you," he said, his voice rough but steady. "I can feel the difference." We continued to help Lucian, working on techniques to manage his transformations and harness the talisman's power. The council, observing his progress, agreed to give us more time, though their watchful presence constantly reminded us of the stakes. As weeks turned into months, Lucian's control over his transformations improved, and he could live a more stable life. Elise, who had been staying hidden to avoid drawing attention, returned to us, and the reunion was filled with bittersweet joy. "We owe you our lives," Elise said, tears in her eyes. "We hope for a future, even in the shadows." One evening, as we sat together in the shop, we felt a sense of peace. The journey had been long and filled with danger, but we had managed to protect our friends and uphold the legacy of Anderson's antiques. Isabella and I had a special moment, and our bond was more vital than ever. Though the romantic tension between us was still unspoken, the understanding and trust we had built spoke volumes. "James, we've come a long way," Isabella said, her eyes reflecting the soft candlelight. "I sense our adventures are not yet finished." I smiled, feeling a sense of anticipation for what lay ahead. "You're right, Isabella. There's always another mystery to uncover, another artifact to protect." As the months passed, Anderson's Antiques became a place of quiet stability. Lucien and Elise, now more in control of their supernatural forms thanks to the lunar talisman, had found a semblance of peace. They kept to the shadows, but their bond was more vital than ever, despite the constant threat from the council. One late autumn evening, as Isabella and I were cataloging a few random artifacts, the shop bell tinkled, announcing the arrival of a visitor. The man who entered was cloaked in darkness, his face partially hidden by the brim of his hat. His presence immediately set me on edge. "Good evening," he said, his voice a low rumble. "I am looking for something quite specific." "Welcome," I replied cautiously. "What can we help you find?" He removed his hat, revealing sharp, calculating eyes that seemed to pierce right through me. "I've heard rumors of a powerful artifact known as the Soul Mirror. Do you have it?" I exchanged a glance with Isabella. The Soul Mirror was a dangerous relic, capable of trapping and revealing the true essence of anyone who gazed into it. We did not advertise it openly. "We do have such an artifact," Isabella said, stepping forward calmly. "But it is not for sale. Its power is excessively tremendous and challenging." The man's expression hardened. "I am willing to pay handsomely for it. Name your price." "It's not about money," I interjected. "The Soul Mirror should not fall into the wrong hands. We cannot let it go." The man's eyes narrowed, and he took a step closer. "I don't think you understand. I need that mirror, and I am not leaving without it." Before we could react, he reached into his coat and pulled out a small vial of dark liquid. With a swift motion, he threw it to the ground, and the room filled with a thick, choking smoke. Isabella and I coughed and staggered, our vision blurring. The smoke cleared, the man vanished, and the Soul Mirror was gone too. Panic surged through me. A mirror in the wrong hands equals catastrophic consequences. "We need to find him," Isabella said, her voice tight and urgent, "before he can use the mirror." I nodded, adrenaline coursing through my veins. "Let's go." Gathering our gear, we promptly set off into the night, each item chosen with a purpose. Flashlights cut through the darkness, cameras were poised to capture supernatural phenomena, and audio recorders were ready to pick up ghostly whispers. We carried wolfsbane extract as a precaution against werewolves, and protective charms shielded us from evil forces. The streets of Edinburgh were eerily quiet, the autumn air crisp and cold. Tracking the faint trail left by the man, we relied on subtle signs. Faint footprints in soft earth, broken twigs, disturbed leaves, and residual energy lingering like an invisible breadcrumb trail. Occasionally, we found more direct clues, a piece of fabric caught on a fence or a dropped item, that confirmed we were on the right path. The feeling of being watched intensified, adding to the urgency and tension of our pursuit. After hours, we arrived at an old, abandoned manor on the city's outskirts. The malevolent place confirmed we were in the right spot. We approached cautiously, our senses on high alert. Inside, the manor was dark and worn, the air thick with decay. We crept, eyes searching for the man or soul mirror. As we entered the main hall, we found him standing before the mirror, his back to us. The mirror's surface glowed with an eerie light, reflecting not just his image but the twisted essence of his soul. He used the mirror to amplify his power, drawing on its dark energy. "Stop right there," I shouted, stepping forward. He turned, a sinister smile playing on his lips. "You're too late. The power of the soul mirror is mine." Isabella and I exchanged a determined glance. We had to act fast. Without hesitation, I lunged forward, aiming to knock the mirror from his grasp. He deflected my attack with surprising strength, sending me sprawling to the ground. Isabella, quick on her feet, seized the opportunity to grab the mirror. A blinding light filled the room as she did, and the mirror's power surged. The man let out a scream of rage and pain as his essence was pulled into the mirror, his form twisting and contorting until he was trapped within its reflective surface. The room fell silent, the only sound of our heavy breathing. Isabella stood there, holding the now darkened mirror, her face pale but resolute. "We did it," she said, her voice shaky. "We stopped him." I got to my feet, feeling a mix of relief and exhaustion. "We need to secure this mirror. It's too dangerous to keep in the shop." Back at Anderson's Antiques, we placed the soul mirror in a specially warded case, ensuring it would be safe from future attempts to misuse its power. Despite the harrowing experience, we successfully stopped the unleashing of great evil. As we closed the shop, Isabella and I shared a reflective moment. Our bond had grown stronger through our shared trials, though neither of us spoke of it openly. Isabella softly spoke. "James, we would have been lost without each other." I nodded, feeling the same unspoken connection. "We make a good team, Isabella." The following day, while sorting through a shipment of old paintings, Isabella and I came across an unusual portrait. The painting depicted a beautiful woman with a sorrowful expression, her face partially obscured by a delicate lace veil. Something haunting about her eyes seemed to follow us around the room. "This is intriguing," Isabella said, holding the painting to the light. "But look at the inscription on the back." I turned the portrait over and read the faded words, "Beware the full moon, for the veil shall lift and reveal all." Intrigued, we decided to display the portrait in the shop. As the full moon rose, the shop was bathed in an eerie glow that night. To our shock, the woman's expression in the portrait changed, shifting from sorrow to anger to fear. It was as if the painting was alive. "James, look at this," Isabella whispered, pointing to the portrait. "It's like she's trying to tell us something." We spent the next few days researching the painting's origins. We discovered that the woman in the portrait was a seer named Seraphina, cursed by a jealous rival named Valeria to relive the lives of those who gazed upon her image. Valeria, a powerful witch, had envied Seraphina's beauty and prophetic abilities. Driven by jealousy and hatred, Valeria cast a spell that trapped Seraphina within her portrait, forcing her to endure the torment of witnessing the fates of others while being unable to alter her cursed existence. The curse caused her to experience their past, present, and future, revealing hidden truths and dark secrets. "We need to find a way to break this curse," I said, determined to help the trapped seer. According to this old journal, we need to find Valeria's hidden lair and retrieve a powerful artifact used in the original spell. Following the clues, Isabella and I set out to find the lair. Our search led us to an ancient, overgrown forest, where we discovered a hidden cave. The path to the cave was dangerous. Venomous snakes slithered through the underbrush, and eerie whispers filled the air, making us question our sanity. As we approached the cave, Isabella's vampiric senses heightened. "Something powerful resides here," she warned, her eyes narrowing. "We must proceed with caution." Inside, the cave was dark and foreboding. The walls were lined with symbols and runes that glowed faintly, casting an eerie light. The air was thick with the scent of decay and old magic. We navigated through the narrow passages, avoiding traps and pitfalls to deter intruders. At one point, a hidden pressure plate triggered a cascade of poisonous darts. Isabella's quick reflexes saved us both as she shoved me out of the way. Finally, we reached the heart of the cave. On an ancient altar lay the artifact, a crystal imbued with dark magic, pulsating with a sinister glow. "We have to be careful," Isabella warned again. "This magic is powerful and unpredictable." Back at the shop, we prepared to break the curse. We began the ritual using the crystal and a chant from the journal. The portrait glowed with a ghostly light, and Seraphina's image shifted once more, her expression pleading for release. "By the power of this crystal, we break the curse that binds you," I chanted, feeling the magic pulse through the room. As the magic climaxed, the room was filled with a blinding light. The crystal shattered, and Seraphina's image softened. Her expression became peaceful, and the oppressive feeling lifted from the shop. The curse was broken. Seraphina's ghostly form appeared before us, no longer bound by the portrait. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice filled with gratitude. "You have freed me from an eternity of torment." "You're free now," Isabella said, smiling softly. "You can rest in peace." Seraphina's spirit slowly faded, her form dissolving into a cascade of shimmering light. The portrait was now a testament to her resilience. We displayed it with pride and the story of her tragic fate and ultimate redemption. Visitors to the shop were captivated by the tale, and the painting became one of our most intriguing pieces. As we settled back into the routine of running Anderson's Antiques, the memory of Seraphina's tragic story lingered. It served as a reminder of the power of the artifacts we dealt with and our responsibility for protecting them. One afternoon, Isabella sat at the shop's antique piano, her fingers gliding over the keys as she played a haunting melody. Her love for classical music was one of the few things that brought her peace amidst the chaos of our supernatural encounters. I watched her, feeling grateful for her presence in my life. Our bond had grown stronger through our shared trials, and though neither of us spoke of it openly, the understanding and trust we had built spoke volumes. "James," she said, looking up from the piano, "we've faced so much together. I'm grateful to have you by my side." "Same here, Isabella," I replied. "I couldn't have done any of this without you." As we prepared to close the shop for the night, a sense of anticipation filled the air. We knew the supernatural world still lurked beneath the surface, waiting for the next challenge. But with Isabella by my side, I felt ready to face whatever darkness threatened our sanctuary. Together, we would ensure that Anderson's Antiques' legacy endured, no matter the cost. Life at Anderson's Antiques returned to its usual rhythm, with the shop secure and the veiled portrait safely displayed. But we knew the supernatural world lurked beneath the surface, waiting for the next challenge. The next day, while organizing the back room, Isabella found an old, dusty map hidden inside a false bottom drawer. The map depicted the shop's layout, but included something we had never seen before, a hidden chamber beneath the building. "James, look at this," Isabella said excitedly. "There's a hidden chamber under the shop." We scrutinized the map, noting the entrance marked behind a large bookcase in the storage room. Excitement and trepidation filled us as we moved the bookcase aside, revealing a narrow staircase leading into the darkness. Armed with flashlights and our wits, we descended into the hidden chamber. The air was thick with dust and the scent of ancient stone. We reached the bottom and found ourselves in a large, dimly lit room with shelves of old books and strange artifacts. "This must be the chamber used by the secret society mentioned in my uncle's journal," I said, awestruck. They were dedicated to protecting powerful artifacts. As we explored, we encountered a series of booby traps and magical wards designed to protect the chamber from intruders. Isabella's keen eye for detail helped us navigate the traps, and my knowledge of magical artifacts allowed us to deactivate the wards. In the center of the chamber, we found a large, ornate chest. Inside, we discovered a book that held the secrets to many of the shop's most dangerous items, including their origins and how to neutralize their powers. "This is incredible," Isabella said, thumbing through the pages. "With this knowledge, we can better protect the shop and its visitors." However, our excitement was short-lived. As we examined the book, we accidentally activated a protective spell. The chamber began to shake, and a spectral guardian appeared, its form shimmering with magical energy. "You have trespassed," the guardian intoned, echoing through the chamber. "To leave, you must solve society's riddles and prove your worth." The guardian presented us with a series of riddles, each more challenging and cryptic than the last. The first riddle seemed deceptively simple, but carried a hidden complexity. "I speak without a mouth and hear without ears. I have nobody, but I come alive with wind. What am I?" Isabella and I exchanged glances, quickly deducing the answer, an echo. The guardian nodded, its spectral form shimmering with approval. The second riddle was more obscure, testing our knowledge of alchemical lore. "I am the beginning of the end and the end of time and space. I am essential to creation and surround every place. What am I?" This time, Isabella's eyes lit up with understanding. "It's the letter E," she said confidently. The guardian's expression remained inscrutable, but it stepped aside, allowing us to proceed to the next challenge. The third riddle delved into the history of the secret society itself, raising the stakes with a sense of historical mystery. Guardians of the hidden protectors of the past, in which ancient city did we stand fast? We both pondered momentarily, recalling the journals and records we had studied. Alexandria, I ventured, referring to the famed library and its ancient scholars. The Guardian's eyes glowed, a sign that we were correct. The fourth riddle was the most complex and deeply philosophical, pushing us to think beyond simple answers. The more you take, the more you leave behind. What am I? This one stumped us briefly, but then Isabella's face brightened with realization. Footsteps, she said softly. The Guardian's form wavered, showing we were nearing the final test. The last riddle was the hardest, requiring us to understand the very essence of the secret society's mission. To preserve and protect, a balance we must maintain. What do we guard lest chaos reign? This riddle required us to dig deep into our understanding of the artifacts and their purpose. After a tense moment, I spoke. We guard the knowledge and the delicate balance between the supernatural and the mundane. The Guardian's form shimmered one last time before it began to fade. You have proven your worth, it intoned. The knowledge is yours to protect. As the Guardian disappeared, the chamber's oppressive atmosphere lifted, and we knew we had succeeded. The tension melted away, replaced by a profound sense of accomplishment and the heavy responsibility that came with our newfound knowledge. With the Guardian's blessing, we safely exited the chamber, the book in hand. We carefully stored the book in the shop, knowing it would be invaluable in our ongoing mission. The journey to the Forbidden Chamber revealed a hidden legacy and strengthened our resolve to protect Anderson's antiques. Isabella and I had faced incredible challenges and emerged victorious. Our bond had grown deeper, evolving into a partnership built on trust, respect, and perhaps more. Life at Anderson's Antiques returned to its usual rhythm, with the shop secure and the veiled portrait safely displayed. But I knew the supernatural world lurked beneath the surface, waiting for the next challenge. If you enjoyed this story and want to see more episodes, please like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps us create more exciting and immersive stories. Stay tuned for the next thrilling installment.